I think we wake up every day just grateful that like we're making money off of the gifts that God has given to us. In the Bible, it talks about like a man's gift makes room for him. But you have to allow that gift to make room for you and like let go of the conditioning that like, oh no, like that's just your little passion or that little thing that you're good at, and like allow room for the possibility that like you can wake up every day and like be passionate about what you do, and like, you know, not have to fit your passion into like, you know, time at night, which that's okay in the beginning, like that's needed. And again, there are some passions which are good to just remain as passions, but open yourself up to the possibility that it doesn't just have to be that way.
Definitely. And maybe at this point we can kind of dive into those 5 keys. And there's probably more, but I think these are the 5 that resonated with us the most.
That really helped us,
Yeah, and I made a couple of notes here. So number 1 is around actually finding your passion. So a lot of people that I speak to, especially people that I used to work with in corporate, they're like, I love what you do, but I have no idea what I would do if I wasn't in a 9-to-5 job. Like, I wouldn't know where to start. And I realized that that's actually a big thing that stops people from even exploring. And so when I think back to some of the things that worked for me was just having, I guess, curiosity. So, you know, initially I was exactly the same. I thought I would be in a technology career for my whole life. One of the big things for me was around just being curious, because there were opportunities that popped up when I was in that tech career, which I could have just, you know, looked at as, okay, this is just something that I need to do. I need to take a public speaking class to be better at my job. And then after that, just put it behind me and forget. But actually what happened was I kind of embraced it. And so it's like, okay, yeah, this is making me feel more confident talking to my team members and to clients. But also I've had this conversation with someone in the public speaking group, and they're saying I should do a TED Talk. And I mean, as scary as that was, and as unnatural as it was for me, because at the time I wasn't thinking I'm going to become this motivational speaker and make a career out of it. I just kind of leaned into it. Even it's kind of like that whole feel the fear and do it anyway type,
give it a go.
Type of energy. And so I applied for the TED Talk, like I mentioned. I do want to get it. I was rooting against myself, but I got it. And then it was like, okay, cool. So I'm actually this is another decision point. Because once you get an offer, you can say thanks, but no thanks. But I still said, okay, cool, I want to move forward with this. And then I guess at each point, curiosity just led to me saying yes and yes and yes. And I think that's okay to do while the curiosity is still there. It's kind of like that whole like no regrets type of thinking. Like, because I knew if I said no to these opportunities, there might be sometime in the future that comes when I think, oh, maybe I should have just tried that. Right? And so kind of leaning into that like really helped me eventually discover something that I was passionate about.
That's good.
That then changed shape to become, you know, YouTube and podcasting and all these other things that we do. So curiosity is one way, and then I think maybe the other way is a lot of the time people will say, well, some people just have a natural talent for something. Like, you know, you've been singing since like, I don't know, you were 2 days old or something. Like, maybe there's something there, right? So if you've got that natural talent, then definitely I'd encourage you to be curious about it and not think that, okay, cool, this is just something that I do, like I sing on, you know, family events or whatever. Like, you know, how far can you take it?
Yeah, exactly. And I think like that's what I was gonna say, like on that is like, I think there are those things that like people tell you like, wow, like you're really good at that. And that kind of gives you a hint as well, like, because sometimes it's hard to see ourselves, like it's hard to see like our superpower, but like oftentimes like if you look back in your life, like you'll realize like a pattern of like, you know, well, like you're really good at seeing that in people, or like you really have a nice way of like putting things, or like, wow, like you have a great way of like capturing photos. Like listen to those like things, because they'll give you hints into like what's that thing that like comes supernaturally to you. And again, doesn't mean that there's not honing in that has to happen, but I think like, you know, passion is kind of that raw thing. That like you don't know like how you do it, like you don't know like, you know, where you get it from necessarily, but it's there, and then you kind of, it's your job to kind of like hone it in.